So for those of you that are joining us, we're just trying to get the last minute kinks out of technology. There always seems to be something, so. But I think we are good. Thanks, James, I appreciate it. So we just want to welcome you. My name is Jennifer Young and I'm with University Credit Union. And we want to welcome you to our Appraisals and Inspections webinar. Joining me today is Marky Johnson, and she is one of our mortgage consultants up at the Bountiful branch, and I appreciate her help today. Just a few housekeeping items. If you have any questions, make sure and type those questions in on the screen where you can, and we'll stop periodically through the presentation and answer and address any questions you have, whether they're directly related to the information that we're covering again for the appraisal and inspections, or if you have other mortgage questions that you would like answered. We want to make sure that you're welcome to reach out and let us know. Let's see, one other thing, just so that you're aware of, at the end of this webinar, we're actually recording the webinar. So at the end of this, we'll be sending you an email with a link with the recorded webinar so that you can refer back to the information from time to time if you have any questions on the information that was covered. So we are ready to move forward. So just so that you, again, we're covering appraisals versus inspections, and we're going to go through and address exactly what each of them cover. Appraisals establish the value, and the value is relative to what the current market is doing, what current values, what current the qualities and stuff. It establishes what your value of your home is based on those market conditions. An inspection establishes what kind of condition the home is in. So if there are things that need to be maintained, things that need to be upgraded, things that need attention, an inspection is going to address those specific issues. And so what we're going to cover is we cover the information in the following slides. It's going to help you determine which one you would need for whatever specific situation you're looking at. Sorry, I'm stammering. It's afternoon. I need a nap, I think. Anyway, so moving forward, we'll talk about inspections.
So I think a lot of people know when you buy a home, it's a great idea to have a home inspection done so you know what you're getting into. A lot of people don't realize when you're selling a home, having an inspection done beforehand could also be a great idea. It can make your selling process a lot smoother because it will help you with seeing what potential problems there are. If there's little things that you can fix before putting the home on the market, it can save you money. You know, someone might offer you less if there are problems that they're either going to have to fix or if they want you to fix things prior to them purchasing. You know, if you can figure that out up front and take care of that, it can make things go a lot smoother. It'll help your agent help you more accurately price the home. Because you know if you do make repairs that can add value, or if you don't want to make certain repairs, it may drop the value a little bit. It'll make you more trustworthy. You can be open and upfront about any problems that you know of or anything that you fixed. We had a great question on our session earlier today. If you are a seller and you have a home inspection done, do you need to list everything that you find out in your seller disclosures? The answer is yes. When you're selling a home, you have, I don't know, 6-7 pages of disclosures that go over every aspect of the home. You address the plumbing, electrical, this, that, any problems that you know of from when you bought the home, while you owned the home. And if you have an inspection done, you'll know all of those things, and you are required to disclose those to your new buyer. And I think that that can help make you seem more trustworthy. You're being transparent about everything. It could be great. And then it can help you market the home. If you do make major repairs, obviously that's a huge selling aspect for people. If the roof is new or the furnace is new, those major things can definitely help sell it.
Likewise, if you're a buyer and you're in a situation where you're purchasing a home, you want to make sure that you have an inspection that's going to help you know exactly what you're getting. It's going to detect equipment problems just so that you're aware of them. Maybe tell you a life expectancy if they come to you, and if you're purchasing a home that has a water heater and you look at it and it's 10 years old and they say, well, the life expectancy is 8 to 10 years, then you'll know and you'll be able to either negotiate that with the seller, or you'll be able to address that as a buyer, being informed beforehand so that you'll understand what you're getting into. It increases the overall safety of the home. Knowing those things and knowing what you're getting into allows you, again, to either negotiate with the seller and fix some of the issues so that you can improve the safety of the home, or at least get those taken care of up to a certain standard. You can ensure that you're not going to be surprised by anything. There's not going to be this inspection is really kind of a warm fuzzy. It helps give you an idea of what's going on in the home. You know exactly, again, we say that transparency a lot, but that's really what inspections are about, is getting you informed on what you know ahead of time. Inspections can pay for themselves in savings over the years. If you know up front and get things repaired by the seller up front, then that really pays for themselves. But it also gives you an opportunity to look at things and say, gosh, if the life expectancy of this water heater is 10 years and the home is 5 years old, then you can start saving and have that understanding and plan for those expenses so that you're not blindsided by them. And that helps provide that peace of mind and confidence. Again, it comes back to that transparency, knowing what you're getting into, knowing what to expect so that there aren't any unforeseen surprises.
So now that we've gone over inspections a little bit, we'll get into appraisals. When do you need an appraisal? I think that most people know when you're buying a home, obviously we'll have an appraisal done. You want to make sure that the value is there, that you're paying, not more than what it's worth. We get asked a lot, if I'm refinancing, do I really need an appraisal? Most times the answer is yes, but that can vary depending on the situation. For home equity lines of credit, second mortgages, we may or may not need one. That's something that you'll sit down and talk with us. We'll see what your situation is and go over that and determine if we need one or not. Another time that you may need an appraisal is if you're wanting to remove your private mortgage insurance. If you put less than 20% down on the home when you purchase it, you will pay private mortgage insurance. But if you make major upgrades and want to have an appraisal done at some point to see if you have 20% equity, we can definitely help with that, and that's another good time to get an appraisal done. Who orders the appraisal? Typically the lender does. If you get an appraisal on your own, we may not be able to use it. We need to use an appraisal that was ordered with one of our approved appraisers. So it's good to talk to us before having one done, and we'll determine, how to proceed with that. And what does an appraisal tell you? So it will tell you the current market value of the home based on recent comparable sales. And comparable sales, they're homes that are comparable to yours. We get a lot of the time, oh, my neighbor just sold their house for X amount, so I think I can definitely sell mine for that amount. That's not always the case, because their home may be a different layout than yours. It may be completely different and may not even be used as a comparable. So the appraiser will find similar homes, similar in layout, similar in square footage, and things like that. And they'll make adjustments based on the condition, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the upgrades, the quality of the finishes. They'll make adjustments for all of that based on the comparables. If you have a bigger lot, that will add a little bit of value. If yours is smaller, obviously it'll decrease. So they'll go into detail on all of that, and the appraisal report will, give you that current market value based on all of that.
Okay, we're going to pause for just a minute before we cover this information and just check to see if there are any questions. I just want to make sure that we're addressing questions as we go. So excuse our screen while we hurry and look and see if there are any questions.
Not yet.
Okay, so just a reminder, if you have questions, I am going to address, we did have a question earlier on inspections. I know we jumped into appraisals, but on inspections, we had a question earlier. Would the inspection results change if it was ordered by a buyer or a seller? So if a buyer orders one or a seller orders one, would the inspection be different for either one? And the answer to that is no. And a home inspection is an inspection of the home itself. They don't taper it and say, well, as a buyer, you need to know this, as a seller, they're addressing the quality and the condition of that home as it is. So that was a really good question earlier, and I thought we needed to share that with you.
I'm going to add to that really quick. Another question that we had was, what is the average price of a home inspection? And typically I would say we see it around $500 in the Salt Lake area, give or take a little bit. But that was a great question as well, because I think people don't know how much to anticipate paying for that.
I agree. Good one. Okay, what responsibility does an appraiser have? We get asked from time to time, or comments that are made. Somebody will be buying a home and, we know that value is going to come in at the purchase price, so why do you have to have an appraisal? Sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't. Mostly what you need to know is the responsibility of the appraiser is to evaluate current market information and compare the home that you're looking at to what has actually closed on the market. They don't compare to, they do provide us with some of the listings, the current listings, to let us know what kind of future values are doing. But they compare it mainly to what has actually closed. So what are actual closed sales that have hit the market? Sometimes sales are in the cash form, and those sales are not allowed to be used. They can't use those because that information isn't reported to the county reporter. It's not public information, typically cash sales or private information. And so the appraiser is responsible for gathering specific information on properties that are comparable to this property of yours that we're comparing, that we're asking for the appraisal on, and doing an overall analysis of that. So finding a home that's similar. If you've got a 2-story home, they don't want to find just single-story ramblers to compare to it. They want to find 2-story homes like yours. If it's 4 bedrooms, we don't want them to find a home that has 2 bedrooms and try and compare it. We want them to find things that are similar in not only the square footage, but also in the makeup. So bedrooms, bathrooms, addition, total overall rooms. We want them to find homes that are similar in land size and property size, just so that we have something that's actually comparable. And then when they get that information, they're going to go through and they're going to evaluate each of those areas individually. And if one, maybe your neighbor has a home that's very similar to yours that sold earlier, that we are able to use as a comparable, but maybe your land is a little bit bigger than theirs. And so we want to make sure that you're given a little bit more value because of that extra land. Maybe the finishes in their home might be a little bit more updated than yours. The appraiser's going to address each one of those areas and then give us an overall analysis, and that's what the appraisal report compares to. Not always, just because you have a purchase price, does it mean that the value is going to be the same. We've seen in this market, I know Marky has seen the same, but we've seen in this market some appraisals come in high and some appraisals come in low. And we just have to make adjustments as that happens accordingly. So just so that you know what the accountability of the appraiser is. So the next one, what adds value to a home? And you know what, I have been talk. I'm going to ask Marky to talk about this a little bit.
When looking at things that add value to your home, you know, you need to look at your area and see what other people are doing in the area. And you know, if you decide to upgrade your landscaping, is that something that's common in your area, or you know, is that something that you will or won't recoup? Because it can change depending on your area, what will add more value. And other things to think about, if you're going to finish your basement, typically below grade you don't get as much, you know, return for that. Above grade will get you more return, but you're not always going to recoup your cost dollar for dollar. I mean, more often than not, you know, you won't see that. So other things to think about: kitchen, bathrooms, rec rooms, sheds and garages. And it really, like I said before, it really just depends on your area and what's going on in your area. You can do your research beforehand and see what's common and where you will likely get money back on that. And maybe you don't care. Maybe you're not worried about recouping that money, and that's fine too. It all depends on what your ultimate goal is. Is your goal to sell eventually and recoup that, or do you want to stay forever so you don't care about that as much? Solar panels are another interesting one that I've seen. Solar panels are becoming more common, but they aren't so common that you're going to recoup that cost. You know, people say, oh, I got a quote and it's going to be $35,000 to do solar panels, and they say that it's going to add $35,000 in equity to my home, and that's not really the case lately. There's just not enough comparables on the market with solar panels to really justify recouping dollar for dollar right now. I think as they become more common, that may be, you know, the case down the road, but you know, recently, and talking to appraisers, they aren't paying back dollar for dollar from what we've seen. More solid items though, roofing, you know, roofing can cost anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 to re-roof a house, and you will probably see more of a return on that because that is a big deal. So those are, big things to think about when you're thinking about what upgrades you want to make or what repairs you need to make. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Jennifer? I just kind of took over.
I think the biggest thing that you can do is educate yourselves on your surrounding, on your market, in your market.
Definitely.
So if you can see that a lot of the homes, the trend is a lot of the homes are upgrading and maybe renovating and upgrading bathrooms or kitchens, or and that's something you can see that for the homes that are upgraded, that the values are increasing, and for the homes that aren't upgraded, that the values are not as high. Those are things that help you justify what's going to add value to your home. But just know the most important thing is typically you don't recoup dollar for dollar. Sometimes you recoup a little bit more and sometimes you just don't. And really what it comes down to, and we'll address this a little bit more, is how bad do you really want to do it, and is it going to affect your decision if it doesn't add value to your home? So, next information is how do you prepare? So now you've scheduled an appraisal or an inspection, and how do you prepare? As the homeowner, what are some things that you can do? And the first thing that we'd suggest is make sure, number one, that you are well informed on your property. Put together a list of improvements, especially if you've put a lot of work into this home and you really want to make sure this is your time to really show it off. So make sure that you put together a list of improvements that you can show and share with the appraiser or inspector. Make sure and prepare your home. Make sure that it's clean and tidy. Make sure that all areas have clean access, because boy, I'll tell you what, I've had my home appraised multiple times, and the appraisers look in every stinking cabinet. They open every door. They open every cabinet. They open every door. And if there are boxes in front of a door, they will shove them out of the way and they will open that door. They really want to see every inch. And not only that, they need to measure. They need to measure every inch of that home to make sure that they give the proper and give you credit for all of the square footage. And so, boy, they open every door and look at every inch of that. And that includes inside and outside. And so just make sure that everything is prepared with access to everything in the home. And maybe point out to them if there are things that you know that are issues, then include that. Let them know they need to look at this or they need to see this, especially if it's an upgrade. I mean, if you've got brand new windows or if you've put on a new roof, you know what, that inspector or appraiser, they're going to climb up on that roof and they're going to look at it. But just make sure that you're well informed on the home. Make sure that you know the property, that you can answer any questions that are relative to the property, and follow them around. Be there with them, go through, ask them questions on, if they do have questions, ask them questions on certain things as far as value. They can be really helpful and really informative at that. So if you prepare, those are just some suggestions what you can be prepared to do.
So depending on the type of loan that you're looking at, it may change the type of appraisal that's needed, if any appraisal is needed. If we're looking at a home equity line of credit or a second mortgage, we may only need a desktop appraisal where the appraiser doesn't really come out and measure. They may come out and take some pictures, but they look up a lot of things online. They'll ask you about square footage, things like that. The scenarios that we may use an appraisal like that would be, if the balance that you owe on the home is low and the county assesses it higher and, it doesn't seem like a big risk. So we may do that type of an appraisal. On FHA loans, VA loans, cash out refinances, purchases, things like that, we typically do a full appraisal where they will come out and go through everything that we've gone through. Some refinances may or may not need a full appraisal. That's another thing. We'll just need to look at your scenario and determine. One thing that's not on here are construction loans. We do have appraisals completed on construction loans. And what the appraiser looks at, they'll look at your plans and specs, whether you're building on or building from scratch. They'll look at the plans that you've had drawn up and they'll look at the cost breakdown and they'll analyze the materials that are going into it and the cost of everything, and they'll determine the future value of the home. And you'll have a chance to review that appraisal before you move forward with construction. And maybe you'll find out that you are overbuilding for the area and the appraisal comes in low, and maybe then you'll want to get with your builder and tweak some things and maybe use some lower end finishes for some things. Maybe you won't care about overbuilding and it's your dream home and that won't matter to you, and that's when you can decide what you want to do. It's just very important, if you do change plans during construction, we need to be notified. We need to be notified if there's changes to the major plans or to the finishes that you're using, because we'll need to forward that to the appraiser, because that will ultimately affect your value when the home is done. And it's better to find that out before we begin construction than at the end when the home is completed.
It's all great information. So, should you remodel or sell? That's probably one of the more common questions that we get, especially with the market right now, with how quickly values are going up and people want to know. And so hopefully this information that we shared with you gives you some insight on that. The biggest question that you want to ask yourself when you talk about should you remodel or sell is, again, we're going to go back to where we started, getting to know your market. Know your market, know what's going to give you value and what's not, what the surrounding area is doing, are homes being renovated, are their values increasing because of the renovations, or are they really not? Are they just simply being maintained? We had a really good question earlier that I want to share. The question was, am I going to recoup all of the money that I've spent on things like plumbing and electrical and like the main water line? Are those types of things that you're going to recoup dollar for dollar on, or are they just expected features for a home? And really, it depends on, again, what's going on, what trend is going on in the area that you live. If you're living in an area where there are older homes and kind of the trend is to go in and renovate and update, you may recoup some of that money, and you may be able to capture some if the values are going up. In some areas, that may not be the case. It may just simply be a maintenance expense that you are spending that money just to maintain the home and keep it in good working order. So the number one thing is know your market. And second to that, decide if you like where you live. If you like where you live and you really just want to have the home upgraded and you want to stay where you're at, then really it doesn't matter. It doesn't, you should be able to go ahead and do those things and increase the value to you personally, and without worrying about what the market value is. If you don't like where you live, then no amount of money that you dump into it is going to make you happy. Then I would say then it's time for you to find another home and find what you like, move where you like. We all talk about this a lot. We spend a lot of time at home, and you want to love where you're at. So if putting money into it is not going to make you happy overall with the overall location, then it's time for you to find something else. Hopefully that helps to give you an idea. And we're going to pause for just a minute before we cover this and just check for questions. Okay. All right, you guys, we just must be covering so much information that you have no questions, or you're all really shy and it's an afternoon siesta time. So I'm going to have Marky cover why us.
Yeah, why us? I think we're pretty awesome here. Obviously, we will sit down with you and go over your goals, short-term and long-term, and we are never going to pressure you into anything. We want to do what's best for you and what you want to do. But we also won't hold back if you're wanting to do something and we don't think that it will be good for you. We can see red flags. We won't hesitate to tell you what our concerns would be. We'll be transparent and honest with you throughout the process. And we want to make sure that the debt that you take on today will still work for you tomorrow and a year from now and 5 years from now, and will put you in a good position for your future. We are local to Utah and loyal to you. We have in-house originating, processing, and underwriting, which is a big deal. It speeds up the timelines from when you apply till when you close. It makes a big difference to have all of that in-house at the credit union. We do send automated updates, which is always nice. You'll get emails when your appraisal's been ordered, when it's been received, when your loan's been approved by underwriting, and it's always nice to be kept in the loop. I know I appreciate that when I'm doing something. And then we'll just do everything that we can to earn your trust. We are here for any questions that you have throughout the process, any concerns that you have. You can call us, email us, text us. We try to be readily available. And like I said, we just want to be honest and get you into the best situation.
Great, thanks. So here's our team, and I know that y'all know how to find us. You came and found us on the web, but this just gives you an idea. You can reach out with any questions. Again, Marky is the one that's joining us today, but you can reach out to us on that 801-481-8840 number, and that number rings at every one of the desks of our mortgage consultants. And so you're guaranteed when you call that number to get us, one of us, and be able to answer any questions that you might have. We did have a couple of other questions previously, and so I'm going to address as we look for if there's any other questions. But another question that we had is if you just did a minor improvement. So the question was if we just did a kitchen facelift versus a whole kitchen remodel, what impact would that be? Would that be worthwhile? Would it be? And there are a lot of things like that that you can do, minor improvements that are just minor upgrades that can really overall improve the overall presentation of the home and bring a lot of value to the home. So yes, in those situations, some of those things would be a good idea to consider, especially if you're preparing a home for sale. If you can go through and upgrade and do some things. The example that was asked was a kitchen facelift versus a whole remodel. A whole remodel could run you as high as, you know, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000.
Yeah.
It depends on how much you want to get into it. And a facelift may only be a couple of $1,000s. And so the comparison for the money that was spent versus what the overall presentation of it might be worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of little things like that that we run into from time to time with questions. So we're going to wait for just a few minutes. Do you have anything else that you would like to add, Marquita?
I don't think so. I mean, once again, just the little things that you can do, you know, talking to appraisers in the past, I know that they've said just simple things as upgrading light fixtures can help, you know, when you're getting ready to sell your home, that can help a little bit. Touching up paint, just little things like that.
Just making
helpful.
sure it's in nice, clean, well presentation order. So we're going to wait for just a few minutes for any other questions. I can hear Jeopardy music in the background in my head.
We need like a sound person here.
Just a reminder, we will be sending you out an email with a link for the webinar that we recorded. And if you do have any questions, you are more than welcome to reach out to us at any time. We're happy to help you with any questions that you might have. As we're waiting, if there's any other questions I just want to cover, remember that we are a full service lender. People forget that from time to time. We have every product available. So not only do we have regular conventional and FHA and VA loans, but we also have a really great 100% first-time home buyers program available right now. So no down payment for first-time home buyers. You're able to come in with just covering the cost of the closing costs and not have to worry about a down payment. It's a great opportunity for first-time home buyers. We also offer full construction loans and lot loans. And so if you just simply can't find the home that you've been looking for and you decide that you would like to build, we would love an opportunity to work with you on construction. So hopefully we've got lots of products, and hopefully you'll reach out to us and let us know how we can help. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. And again, let us know how we can help you. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.